From the savannah to the Midland and the Atlantic, Ambazonia has risen to fall no more. Ambazonia rise.
Dear Ambazonians on the Homefront and diaspora.
Dear Ambazonia freedom fighters in the Homefront and in the diaspora.
The Ethics Commission of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia is coming out to alert you that it is becoming more and more evident that the former British Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonians, will soon emerge as the newest nation in the world.
We are calling on all of us to start preparing to receive Ambazonia as parents prepare to receive their firstborn child. Malcolm X said, tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. We are already very educated, talented, and very rich in natural resources. Do all this guarantee a safe and prosperous Ambazonia? The answer is an emphatic no. Theodore Roosevelt said, to educate a person in the mind but not in morals is to educate a menace in society.
Ambazonians, it is time to start planning to restore our cultural and social values that characterize us as a people of good repute. Before our Republic to Cameroon invasion, we were respectful of each other, of the law, and of our culture. We earned our living through honest hard work, making clean money for ourselves.
Our values helped us to maximize the benefits of our natural resources as well as our human resources. Southern Cameroons were serene and clean, simply beautiful in spirit and in the physical. We all long for such a place to call home, and we can make it happen by God's grace.
Our local government areas and counties, are you preparing? Do you have an ethics commission in your local government areas, counties to serve as a moral compass for you? Do you have a copy of the Ambazonia Ethics Code and the Constitution?
All arms of government, do you have an ethics agency? Departments of DSS, HSS, Communications and IT, Education, DHACM, DFA and DEINR. Do you have ethics agency to serve as a moral compass for your departments?
Ambazonians, you need to know your rights by reading the Ethics Code and the Constitution.
Shame unethical behavior and reward good behavior in your communities. Hold leaders accountable. Be the watchdog of your communities and governments. See something, say something.
The church, you are the main research center of moral principles with the responsibility of moralizing the society. How effective are you outside the church building?
Maya Angelou said, when you know better, then you do better. Ambazonians, watch ethics for an emerging Ambazonia every Friday at 10 p.m. Amba time.
Exclusively on ABC Amba TV. Stay tuned.
The media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Ambazonia were deprived of such privileges. The privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion They have suffered cultural genocide for 6 long decades, but not in this age and not with Undaunted ABC Amba News on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution on Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Franco-Cameroon colonizers, among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Ambazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, 1992, Ambazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the piper in the media.
The good news is we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
Right now, ABC Amba TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively
to inform the misinformed and disinformed with Undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news, untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amba TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Ambazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way round.
And like we say it always, Ambazonia must narrate her story accurately. We can do this together, you know, right? You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambatv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team. Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. Let my people go. Let Ambazonia go. Let them go. Mona has chanted, let's sing it. La Republic de Cameroon political analyst Aristide Mono told his nation during a heated debate yesterday Sunday on Equinox TV to let Ambazonia go as they stay unwavering on the cause for total freedom. The Bulu-Beti-born Aristide monarch during the meticulous expansion of his rhetoric challenged house slaves like Paul Atanga Nji along Paul Ngole Elvis who claimed normalcy in Ambazonia to visit their respective villages. Meanwhile, Colonial Minister of Territorial Administration Paul Atanga Nji heightens propaganda during a high-level security meeting in Victoria over the weekend. It could be observed that Atanga Nji on this vicious mission carried with him one of the obvious, the bite and blow political instrument of La République du Cameroon to manipulate, intimidate, divide and or conquer. La République du Cameroon paid media outlets like the Guardian Post, Mimi Metho Info as always wants the world to believe that Ambazonia fighters burnt the hospital in Mamfe last. On a remarkable note, activists east of the Mungo are increasingly making utterances about Ambazonians' endeavor to restore her stolen independence. Remy Ngono misinforms on one hand and Michael Biemtong corrects on the other hand. Was Ngono's utterances last week out of ignorance? That's what we intend to find out. But first, let's get the prime headlines.
Prime headlines. The West has hijacked the Ukraine war. Meanwhile, the US liaises with its European allies to fix Russian oil prices. The United States-backed Syrian Democratic Forces have said that they will turn to the Syrian government for support if Turkey decides to launch a new military operation against them in northern Syria. Heavily armed Bororo bandits terrorized the population of B Village in Nkambe local government area, wounding many. Colonial La République du Cameroon government claims there's improved security in the Atlantic and part of the Midland zones. Mamfe Hospital and arson. La République du Cameroon's blood money has bought over what we should have been referring to as the indigenous media of Ambazonia. And Remy Ngono's utterances stir dangerous waters within the Ambazonian diasporic community and social media space. US judge dismisses Cristiano Ronaldo's rape lawsuit in Las Vegas and punishes woman's attorney with sanction for bad faith conduct.
Sincerest apologies for coming a little bit behind schedule, but the news is here. The West has hijacked the Ukrainian war. Meanwhile, the US liaises with its European allies to fix Russian oil prices. Would a price cap on Russian oil help curb its revenue? What is the exact objective of the US and its Western allies? Will these moves intimidate Putin, provide a solution, or worsen the situation? Meanwhile, a Turkish leader ahead of the re-election bid plans to attack Syria. What could possibly be the consequences? These are some of the pertinent questions we are going to be asking tonight as we look around the world. And that's where we'll begin Undaunted full briefings for tonight. I am Onyi Opbala, and as always, I have my co-anchor here tonight, Stesta. Good evening.
Good evening, Onyi. I know Ambazonians are eager to hear our opinions on the controversy emanating from Mamfe town in Manu County, but like you have highlighted and asked pertinent questions, let's get the people well seated as we examine the scheme of the West that is affecting the global economy so greatly. The question is, would a price cap on Russian oil help curb its revenue? It may seem great to pay for Russian oil cheaply, but wait until we process the intricacies. Fellow Ambazonians, ladies and gentlemen, once again, good evening. As it stands, the US is discussing with its European allies a price cap on Russian oil. The goal is to keep Russian oil flowing into international markets, but curb budget revenues from it to discourage Russia from continuing the war in Ukraine. Theoretically, The situation is not different to wanting to eat your cake and have it too. On one hand, both the US and Europe, suffering the most severe consequences of sanction action so far, are aware that banning Russian oil from international markets would hurt them even more.
On the other hand, paying for Russian oil at market prices is not a palatable option because oil and gas export revenues make up a solid portion of Russia's budget, and that budget includes defense spending, and much of that defense spending is going into what Russia calls a special military operation in Ukraine, which the world West calls an unprovoked war. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen put it rather bluntly earlier this week. She says, and I quote, "I think what we want to do is keep Russian oil flowing into the market to hold down global prices and try to avoid a spike that causes a worldwide recession and drives up oil prices," she said, as quoted by the Wall Street Journal. But absolutely, the objective is to limit the revenue going to Russia. One might wonder where the concept of the free market went, but in truth, the concept of the free market has been quite dead for a while now. The question is whether the idea that the US and the EU have about an oil price cap could work. In other words, would Russia accept such a move?
According to common sense, it would hardly welcome the idea of having a price ceiling imposed on its export oil cargoes. According to the former chief economist of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, Sergei Guriev, he says, yes, Putin could refuse to sell oil at this price, but given that he is already desperate enough to sell to China and India at steep discounts and today's energy prices far exceed production costs, this seems unlikely. Indeed, Russian oil is trading at a discount of some $30 and more to Brent crude. Whether there is desperation in the Russian oil equation is difficult to say if we put emotions and wishes aside. It is clear Russia knew it would have to redirect flows to Asia from Europe should the latter try to punish it for its actions in Ukraine, and it was prepared to do so. It is also clear, or at least it should be, that Russia cannot just redirect all the oil and fuel flows that currently go into Europe to India and China, at least not fast. What this suggests is that Russia may well be prepared to suffer some revenue pain while the redirection proceeds. You know what, Onyi? It is said that if you will find yourself in a pit, stop digging and start climbing, but it would appear the West hasn't learned any lesson after hijacking the Ukraine war.
Indeed. Also, Russia tends to budget on the basis of quite low oil prices. For last year, for instance, it's budgeted for $45 per barrel, of Brent crude. Its actual oil revenues last year exceeded initial expectation by more than 51%. For 2022, Moscow budgeted for Brent at $44.20 per barrel. So, as Guriev notes, even with a price ceiling of $70 per barrel, Russia would be making a lot more from the sales of its oil than it budgeted for. China and India would only be too happy to pay even less for Russian oil. Yet, the question remains whether Russia would be on board with the idea of having its opponent in this war tells it what the price would sell. Until the ball goes to Russia's court, however, the US and the EU would have to figure out how to enforce a price cap if they agree on it. One way, according to WSJ report, is to use the insurance industry and make it only insure Russian oil cargoes below the price cap. Another is to impose secondary sanctions on Russian oil buyers, but that would have potentially unpleasant diplomatic consequences.
The idea of a price cap on crude, not just Russian, was first floated in Europe earlier this year by Italy's Prime Minister Mario Draghi. In May, following a meeting with the US President, Draghi said both he and Biden were dissatisfied with the structure of global oil markets and had talked about setting a price cap on both oil and gas. Quote, the idea is to create a cartel of buyers or to persuade the big producers, and OPEC in particular, to increase production, which is perhaps the preferred path. Draghi said at the time, as quoted by the Financial Times, on both parts, there is a lot of work to do. Perhaps now that OPEC agreed to pump more oil theoretically, this plan would be put on the back burner. A buyer's cartel is certainly not something you'd want to push into OPEC's face right when you urgently need more oil.
Okay, that's it for oil market impositions and manipulations. Though the Ukraine war wasn't provoked by oil, we now have a twist hovering around fuel prices. Before you take a deep breath, let me hasten to tell you this. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has repeatedly said over the past few weeks that he is planning a major military operation to create a 30-kilometer, 19-mile deep buffer zone inside Syria along Turkey border.
It is important to note that the SDF will turn to Assad if Turkey attacks in Syria. Reports state that Russia and Syrian government forces have bolstered their presence in northern Syria. As the war spark allies reinforces, we may not only suffer the economic brink, we may just be on the fast track of a third world war. Gabalexin expands on this report.
The United States-backed Syrian Democratic Forces have said that they will turn to the Syrian government for support if Turkey decides to launch a new military operation against them in northern Syria. The Kurdish-led SDF said after a meeting of its command on Tuesday that its priority is to reduce tension near the border with Turkey, but also prepare for a long fight if Ankara carries out its threat. The SDF is largely made up of the YPG, which is the Syrian branch of the PKK, a group Turkey, the European Union and the US consider a terrorist organization. The meeting confirmed the readiness of SDF forces to coordinate with forces of the Damascus government to confront any possible Turkish incursion and to protect Syrian territories against occupation, the SDF statement said. The SDF has previously been considered part of the wider Syrian opposition to President Bashar al-Assad, but has grown closer to Damascus in recent years, particularly following the spread of Turkish military forces along with their allies in the Syrian opposition. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan has repeatedly said over the past few weeks that he is planning a major military operation to create a 30-kilometer deep buffer zone inside Syria along Turkey's border. The proposed military incursion would be the fourth major Turkish operation since 2016, with previous campaigns giving Turkey control of territory from the SDF and ISIL in different areas along its border. Russian and Syrian government forces appear to be bolstering their presence in northern Syria after Moscow warned at the weekend against military escalation in Syria ahead of talks between Turkey and Russia scheduled for Wednesday in Ankara. A spokesman for the Turkey-backed Syrian National Army, SNA, previously known as the Free Syrian Army, said Russia was reinforcing positions near Tal Rifat, Manbij, the southern outskirts of Kobane, and Ain Isar, all towns within 40 kilometers 25 miles of the Turkish border. Since the announcement of the operation, the Syrian regime and its Iranian militia have mobilized and are sending reinforcements to the YPG, Major Yusuf Ahmad said. SNA intelligence had spotted Russian helicopters landing at an airbase close to Tal Rifat, he added. Turkey's state-owned Anadolu news agency cited local sources on Saturday as saying Russia was making deployments in North Syria to consolidate its control, flying reconnaissance flights over Tal Rifat and setting up Panzer S-1 air defense system in Qamishli, a border town nearly 400 kilometers further east. SDF commander Mazlum Abdi said on Sunday that the Syrian government should use its air defense systems against Turkish planes and that his forces were open to working with the Syrian troops to fight off Turkey, but said there was no need to send more forces. Gab Ellison reporting from Undaunted.
Let's examine Russia-Turkey relations. Moscow and Ankara have close ties, and Turkey has sought to mediate talks over Russia's war in Ukraine. But their support for opposing sides in Syria may test President Vladimir Putin's relations with the only NATO member not to impose sanctions on Russia over the invasion.
The stakes are also high for Erdogan. Without at least tacit approval from Russia, Assad's powerful ally in the Syria conflict, a Turkish offensive would carry additional risk of casualties. Russia and Turkey have checked each other's military ambitions at various points in Syria's war, at times bringing them close to direct confrontation.
Ankara says it must act because Washington and Moscow broke promises to push the YPG 30 kilometer 18 miles from the border after a 2019 Turkish offensive, with both powers seeking Turkey's support over Ukraine. The conflict may offer it a degree of leverage. Washington, whose backing for the SDF has long been a source of strain in ties with Turkey, has voiced concern, saying any new operation would put at risk U.S. troops which have a presence in Syria and undermine regional stability. Russia also said last week it hoped Turkey refrains from actions which could lead to a dangerous deteriorating of the already difficult situation in Syria. A senior Turkish officer said Lavrov would be asked about intelligence that he said pointed to Syrian government and Iran-backed forces either arriving at Tal Rufat or heading there. Turkey will do this operation one way or another, the official said, speaking on condition of anonymity.
Asked whether Russia was strengthening positions in northern Syria, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters it was the Syrian armed forces that, quote, are reinforcing to a greater or lesser extent certain facilities on their territory. The Syrian government does not comment on troop movement, but the pro-government newspaper Al Watan on Monday cited sources in northern Raqqa near the Turkish border as saying Syrian troops, tanks and heavy weaponry deployed over the weekend in response to Turkish moves. The Turkish official and the SNA's Hamoud said attacks from SDF-controlled areas against those under Turkish and SNA control had increased. Hamoud said Turkish and SNA forces were responding. Right after the break, we will react to the striking issues at the Homefront, the Mamfe arson and the media fraud. Stay tuned.
The number one most important thing for every Ambazonian to do right now is to draft. Draft and draft and draft. People of Ambazonia, draft.
Open eye. Open the eye. Open up. They're not now. Let them do their work. They're going to work. No, I said, no, you say in a day for anything. You know, day for villain group. No, you know the day for. You know, say for yeah. I said, guy, la commander for that. Il a commandé pour Bongo. Il va commander pour Orti. Na pour Orti. Il a commandé na pour Tony Mian avec. Il a commandé pour ça pour na campo. Quando il a toxé il a comparé na pour yeno. Then who don't come direct when that boy come back. If you wanna be there how many? Una 3. Una come up and do how many? when I come to talk over here. Now who's the winner? Na brother them for Ila.
Yes.
Tell me when I come take.
No, that operator no. No problem is supporter. No avoid them.
Now when I talk to yes, we are hospital. Kabanchega orang mau bici, singar bagi aku. Bamlap. Hey, ayo bodi. Ya kau ni. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Nimbo, cuma naga. Ika bingkai kau. Ada. That's all right.
Heavily armed Bororo bandit terrorizes the population of Bui village in Nkambe local government area, wounding many.
Regrettable to note that the colonial administrators of Donga Matung, Menchum, Momo and Bui counties, who equally own cattle, have been arming these Bororo militias to counter Ambazonian freedom fighters. They connive with the Bororos against the natives fanning farmer graziers conflict from which they feed fat.
Attacks by Bororo armed bandits are recurrent these days in Donga Matung County. The cases of Mbangon, Ngrabo, etc. are still fresh in our minds. It would seem some Bororo people think they can take advantage of the current crisis in Ambazonia to settle scores, take over Mbum land and lord over Mbum people. The latest victims in the series were the people of Bui village who were attacked by heavily armed Bororo bandits on the night breaking Thursday, June 9th, 2022.
You know, Onye, I think it is high time Mbum people, especially the youths, strategize on how best to defend homeland from these armed bandits. Thank God one of the heavily armed Bororo bandits was caught in the course of the struggle, which lasted hours, and handed to the police for further investigations. Several B people sustained life-threatening injuries from gunshots by these bandits, houses and crops destroyed, and ransom paid by some villagers at gunpoint. The bandit who was caught is a Bororo herdsman who has lived all his life in B village.
That's not all. Bororos, Fulanis, and La Republic de Cameroon terrorist military attack Tamru in Ndu local government area, DMC, breaking today, Monday, June 13, 2022. Fortunately for the unarmed civilians and informants within the ranks of the enemy foiled their diabolic plans.
According to reports from Kemi Ashu, they came in their numbers, Bororo Fulani, more than 100, armed to the teeth with guns, daggers, etc. Provided to them by their brother and colonial DO Ibrahim Shuaibu Adamu of Ndu local government area, advised by another sellout, Mayor Abdul Borno, They were flanked by more than 30 well-armed military men from La Republic du Cameroon. They came in last night and surrounded the whole area with the aim of attacking and killing mostly civilians, as has been the case in the past. God being their helper, the villagers were tipped off by some informants within the military who were not happy with the continuous onslaught on the civilian population.
The people know their area very well. Most of them evacuated the place the same night and they found no one to kill. They are still shamelessly hanging around the area looking for people to kill. God is our helper. Ambazonia shall be freed. Regrettable to note that the colonial administrators of Donga-Mantun County, who equally own cattle, have been arming these Bororo militias to counter Ambazonia freedom fighters. They connive with the Bororo against the natives, farming farmers-grazers conflict from which they feed fat.
Events these past 2 months in the southwest region haven't been rosy, in a general climate of improved security. If Fako, Meme and Kupema Nenguba divisions are relatively stable, then Jian, Manyu and Lebialem remain a major preoccupation for the state. The Limbe meeting was meant to devise strategies to put all of this to an end.
They have been acquiring arms. So where are these arms coming from? We have to start investigating. Where are the arms coming from? Who is supplying those weapons? And how to put in place proper intervention mechanisms so that we should completely eradicate all the remaining pockets of resistance.
Another key preoccupation addressed was the phenomenon of land grabbing in Fako Division. Paul Atanganji frowned at the obvious complicity of administrative authorities.
If there's any transaction which has to do with CDC, land or palm and all, it should be cancelled with immediate effect.
Shortly after the closed-door security meeting, the Minat boss, speaking before some parliamentarians of the division, had a clear message on the random creation of chiefdoms.
We have complaints that to create some of those chiefdoms, they go inside another chiefdom and take land from left and take another land and to create a fundum, which becomes a problem with territorial boundaries and limitations which we cannot really manage.
The meeting ended with Paul Atanganji reiterating the instructions of the President of the Republic and the Prime Minister head of government that decisions will always be taken in the best interest of the population.
It is shocking to see how a few in Ambazonia press have suddenly become a disappointment to the genuine quest for freedom.
Indeed shocking. La Republic du Cameroon blood money has bought over what we should have been referring to here as the indigenous media of Ambazonia, the Guardian Post, Mimi, Mamfe blogs, etc. have chosen themselves against their own people. One would expect that these news outlets will be fighting for the liberation of their oppressed people, but instead they're standing with the oppressor. What a shame.
Let's look at the media reaction. Ocha blames the Mamfe hospital arson attack on suspected separators. A press release from the ARD Interim Resident Coordinator Office for the Coordinator of Humanitarian Affairs Ocha Cameroon said that the perpetrators of the fire outbreak were suspected separatist fighters in Mamfe. The early Thursday fire burned almost the entire structure of the hospital except the newly constructed pharmacy by Doctors Without Borders and the mortuary.
My question is, why will Ambazonians raise the hospital? From the audio we saw last week, it was even clear that the colonial forces of occupation were responsible. What a distortion of information. We could even see hand-picked purported protesters in Mamfe, but as we observed different viewpoints from a tweet earlier today, veteran and seasoned journalist Bo Herbert teaches a big lesson to the Nga Christians and co who have sold their consciences to the occupier because of blood money. Bo Herbert shows how the Ukrainian people and the press are committed to pull out the oppressor, Russia. In similar circumstances here, the Ambazonian indigenous media will go too low to even lie and condone injustice being perpetrated on its own kith and kin because of bread and sardine. He posted, and I read, quote, imagine #Ukrainian citizens renting themselves out, brandishing placards blaming their own civilian self-defense, volunteers for hospitals bombed out or burnt down by Russia in Bucha. Well, Cameroon's Putin, Biya just pulled that off in southern Cameroon. End of quote.
How on earth will a bona fide Ambazonian calling himself or herself a journalist, if not because of blood money, caption his paper after Asun hospital? Mamfe population stages protest against growing Amba atrocities. When he or she knows the truth and when the very population is crying foul to La République du Cameroon military for burning down their hospital. Here comes Mimi Mefo. Eyewitness accounts say separatists who have been fighting for an independent state called Ambazonia set the hospital on fire after overpowering security guards in a fierce gunfire exchange. Patients receiving treatments are reported to have snailingly struggled to move out of the building on fire. This is Mamfe Hospital completely burned down. It was burned down yesterday by Ambazonians. Though fingers are pointing at armed separatists, no group has claimed responsibility. The government is yet to react, Mimi Mefo says.
This is disinformation, misinformation, and intoxication. How can separatists who overpower La République du Cameroon security forces in a fierce gunfire exchange proceed to burning their own hospital? For which reason would that be? Mimi Mefo is a Bamileke hybrid, and no bona fide Ambazonia should expect a balanced report from these people who stand for a one and indivisible Cameroon. Only municipal updates and breaking news newspaper have shown objectivity as far as telling the story of the burning of the Mamfe hospital is concerned. A true press must stand against injustices, defend the truth.
We have the coordinator of Manyu County in our studios today, Comrade Willie Ayong, born and raised in Manyu, Mamfe, grew up in Mamfe town, lived in Mamfe, schooled in Mamfe, and as such, his both parents grew in Mamfe. Currently serves as the county coordinator for Manyu County under the interim government led by Dr. Samuel Ikomesako here in our studios. All right, let's have Willie and Tapa the King as well. All right, to you, Mr. Ta, it is worth mentioning that county has 4 local government areas. That's Mamfe County has 4 local government areas: Akwaya, Eyumojok, Upper Bayang, and Mamfe Central. And Comrade Willie's function as a county coordinator is to ensure self-defense of the local community is up to date so as to prevent foreign forces from French Cameroon not to invade and kill our people, as well as our livestock and properties from being disturbed. Comrade Willie, what is going on with the population of Mamfe as concerns the hospital, and what is your take as well?
Yes, good morning, everybody. I hope you guys can hear me. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Go ahead, comrade.
Yes, before I talk to you, I want to greet my people in Manyo. Whatever man ka chime Willie. Chong chi Monday, mayangaram kupune nebeka for Mamfe. And you're gonna mayangaram nebeka chitete. You know, may answer America Manyo. Una my areme Willie. Kiwam ke chot ya wen. Jumji kom ke chot. Kiwam ke sara wen bing bing. Jumji chinga for Kamanfe. Well, before I start, I've come in today. I've talked to my people in English, in Bayangi, my father's language, and Ejaka, my mother's dialect, as such. I was born in Mamfe. I grew in Mamfe, went to primary school in Mamfe, went to secondary school in Mamfe. I left high school, Jesus Mamfe. And as such, in Mamfe, I was not just only a child born and raised in Mamfe. In Mamfe, I was a cameraman. Yes, I was a cameraman. I had a camera, a small Canon. I would go and snap all the occasions everywhere in Mamfe. So Mamfe, it has been my place. I was born there. My parents were born there. My father was the senior quarter head in Mamfe. When they brought this issue of quarter head in Mamfe, my father was one of the people that organized those quarter head things. By then, the chief and paramount chief of Mamfe, Chief Dr. Oben, who managed the hospital in Mamfe, is a son of Mamfe. He was born in Mamfe, raised in Mamfe. He became a doctor in Mamfe, became a paramount chief in Mamfe. He's somebody that I'm really close to. He gave his palace for us to study while we're in Form 4, Form 5, Lower 6, Upper 6. His palace was open for all of us in Mamfe. He's somebody that is educated, so he understands the need for the community. And when I was born, that hospital was already there in Mamfe. The Mamfe General Hospital was already there in Mamfe. When Chief Dr. Ben came from Nigeria, where he studied, he came in that hospital. He enhanced the hospital. He created private rooms, private hospital rooms in that hospital. He created. He brought pipe-borne water. He brought electricity. He brought environmental services where you see all the grass are being cut. I've sent the picture to Mr. Paddy. He can streamline it. The picture before the incident happened, and as such, Mamfe itself, uh, uh, Mamfe itself is a community of people with a particular identity. We are respectful people. We are loving people, but we are not the people to mess with. Moving forward, while in Mamfe, as a young boy, as a small child in Mamfe, sometimes my sisters, my cousins, my neighbors who have kids in Mamfe in that hospital. I was born in that hospital as such. We carry food, we go to the hospital to go give it to whoever is sick in that hospital, and then we run around the hospital. The hospital is too big. I can say like a football field, like soccer field. It's like about 10 to 20 soccer field. As a child, you run from one ward to the next. You have pavement where you cannot, you can move from one unit to the next, and your leg cannot be dirty on the mud. You have well corrugated iron sheet roofed area. Everywhere is roofed and paved, where you can move from one unit to the next. If it's raining, you can move from one area to the next. You won't be affected by any rain. You have a generator. You have AC units. You have everything that a modern hospital could have. Remember, Chief Dr. Oben, he have studied out of the country, so his brain is open, and he's a son of Mamfe. So if you are a son, you want to develop a place, you develop it with the best of your love in that area. That hospital was managed not by the Cameroon government. It was managed by the Manu people. Maker USA, Manu Cultural Association, all across the world. The one in America, Manu people in Europe, Manu people all over the world, and some non-Manu people. They donated equipment.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Loud and
I'm
clear.
sorry.
If you can hear me, please.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you can hear me. Yeah, that's okay. Comrade Willie, you can just express your emotions. It's okay. It's understood. Now you can listen to Comrade Willie trying to take us down memory lane, explaining to us exactly where he's coming from. That is a hospital where in a vicinity or a community where he was raised. And at the same time, Cameroon sends his talks, the evil army or military or armed forces from Yaoundé, and they raised it down. Then they use our own media. Should I even call it our media? I'll call them blacklegs, to purport or to claim that Ambazonians will raise down their own facility. I know the Manu people. I am from Manu. So we value a health facility and we hold it of very high esteem. We want our women, our children to be treated. It has never happened before. We have seen the Amazonian Restoration Forces protect and defend our women from rape and from every evil act of the military. So it is so unfortunate that Cameroon will want to play a fast one. And even some Amazonians, should I even call them Amazonians? I believe in it. We have seen Cameroon. This is not the first hospital. They did it in Bangui. They did it in Bafut. They have done this many times. Cameroon, at the time that the Amazonian Restoration Forces were not even existing, raised down more than 400 villages
more than 400 villages were razed down. That is what was happening in Amazonia. You can look at what happened. Look at the images for yourself. This is what Cameroon did. This is what they did. And they want us, they want you to believe that we are the ones who have burnt down our own. And so it's quite unfortunate. Comrade Willie, as the country coordinator, speaks with the Amazonian Restoration Forces on daily basis. And these are people that have a pact together. And if they did it, they will say so. We heard from Prince Ayamba on the very day, on the incident, eyewitnesses, honest eyewitnesses, actually testifying that Cameroon army did it. Now, the difficulty to be able to distinguish who is a Cameroon army now is because the criminal, Atanganji, we just watch his video, already knows that anybody with a black jean and a black t-shirt is described an Amba boy. So now what they do, if they want to commit evil acts, treasonous acts, is they don't put on the uniforms. So that they will say it is the Amazonian Restoration Forces. It is not possible. It has not happened before. Amazonian Restoration Forces have never raised down a medical facility or a facility that helps the community. It has not happened. If it happens, it is either an Atanganji boy or the B. And this is so unfortunate how the media is messing the situations up. I think Comrade Willie will have to speak now. But I want to talk to Amazonians that are watching us at the Homefront. I'm talking to the international community that is watching this program and those watching on the social media. The need for us to keep this platform alive, because if you look at the gimmick that has been happening in the media of late, you understand clearly what Cameroon is doing, the importance of the media. Cameroon knows that if you have to win a war, you have to win it on the media. So all of this is a media trick. Why? They are losing the war. So what do they want to do? They want to stage a movie. Because, first of all, it is a crime. And then they know it is a war crime. The laws of war do not permit such an act to take place. It is so unfortunate. And I think this is so demeaning of a nation which they said a few days ago that they have a trained army, when they were purportedly acting another movie, claiming that they were releasing Mundi. They said their army was trained. This is a trained army that went to my village in Kendem, picked a baby, and put in a boiling pot of hot oil. A baby, a little baby. The parents were there trying to do the local way where they do palm oil. As they heard that the police was coming, they ran away, and these dogs picked the baby and fried the baby in oil. That is what they did. Comrade Willie, please, you can talk now.
Well, I'm sorry. It pains me because when I was a child, when people from Europe, our brothers and sisters out of the country, when they send things back home, we go to the hospital, we help to offload those trucks and put those things in the hospital. We loaded the hospitals with stuff. And Dr. Obe, the chief of Mamfe, Dr. Ben was staying beside the hospital. The doctor's house is beside the hospital. By then, we had Dr. Mafani as well. He too was staying right at night. If a woman is having delivery or anything, they will come and wake Dr. Ben at night. Say, doctor, somebody is having an emergency. That old man will get up and walk on foot to go help. Sometimes people carry him on the way. Dr. Ben spent all his life in the hospital. He spent all his life in the hospital. So it's not something that you're going to wake up one day, you think that they will carry the war to go to the hospital. I never ever dreamt that the Republic would just get up one day and go burn the hospital. They have their own hospital there in GRA. They have their own small hospital there in GRA. Sometimes when the army of the Republic are being shot in Mamfe and killed, what they do, they go to the hospital. They just go there. If our parents are on the bed, they just roll them on the ground. They just enter the hospital, throw the sick people on the ground and take the hospital beds, and they just stay them there, and they intimidate the doctor. And remember, every one time in Mamfe, they will have this commissioner of police. He enters inside the doctor and beat him up. One time in Mamfe when I was a boy, we call him the 4-star. He was a police officer. He got inside the theater in Mamfe, pulled Dr. Ben in Mamfe, and attacked the doctor inside the theater room. Our parents took to his house and they messed him up. They messed the commissioner up. That commissioner he ended up, I don't know if he's dead or not. But if you see what we've gone through in Mamfe under these military people, if you see what we've gone through, that hospital in Mamfe, if you come there, whether you have money or not, Chief Dr. Ben will treat you, he will manage you, he will talk to you. Sometimes he remove money and buy you medicine. Because the hospital was right close, it was close to his house. Many patients go there, they leave the hospital, go to his house and eat. His wife will cook and they'll come and eat. So you tell me, that's a hospital that have raised 99% of our people were born in that hospital. That hospital is in a very strategic location. People from Nigeria come there for treatment. Some people want to go to anywhere in the world, they will come there for treatment. And the military know better. The hospital is a very clean hospital, well organized. The nurses are neat. You have prominent nurses like Madam Eno, who work in that hospital. She put tireless effort. Yes, Madam Eno was staying just about 100 meters from our house in Big John Hall. If you are sick, she'll come to your house and treat you. We have Madam Echu, who work in that hospital. She was just our neighbor. Those women have put effort in that hospital. Effort. So if Laropi goes there and burn the hospital, I'm not going to sit there and point. Let me say this. Let me say this to Cameroon government. You people can be dancing around the circle. This one I'm going to say it openly and clean and clear. Don't forget, American satellite is on top of Cameroon. Whatever people dance and go around the circle, all those things are recorded in satellite. They are recorded. They have satellite images, footages. All what the Pentagon does, they just click one. Every in NASA, in Houston, in NASA, they just press a button and it shows live video or who was doing what. So if whoever burns the hospital go around the circle, I'm not a judge. I'm not coming here to point fingers. The Cameroon government have been doing this for donkey of years, beating our people, raping them. They have gone to the hospital. They have burned our hospital. They burned the one in Kumba. You people saw it. They burned our schools. You people have seen it. Like in Okoyong, for example. 2 days in Okoyong, they removed some students from a dormitory, transferred them to another dormitory, then they burned the place. Why they are doing this? To blackmail that the Ambas are doing all this. The reason is that they are burning these places so that they can send more money to Mamfe that Mamfe is hot, so that the SDO will take the money and eat. Don't forget. Our people should not confuse. Our people should not confuse, but they should open their eyes. When this war started, it started in Mamfe. When Paul Biya said they should come to Mamfe and kill us. When the war came to Mamfe, the SDO of Mamfe, he sent out a communique that our people from the villages should evacuate. So that our people should evacuate. Esagam, Agbokem, all those villages, many villages that they should evacuate. And they evacuated. So when they are coming out and killing people, you people are doubting. It's not strange. Somebody said they don't want you. What else do they do? They just wipe. They want to wipe our DNA and wipe our gene. They already have a plan in place. They are just merely executing. The SDO in Mamfe, when this war started, he's the first one that shot and killed a Mamfe person. But the Mamfe people kept quiet because in Mamfe, we have some CPDM people. I wouldn't call them CPDM, but I call them half DNA because some of their DNA is not originally from Mamfe. Because if it is, believe me, they will stand and speak. And thirdly, our people are at gunpoint. Our people in Mamfe, they are at gunpoint. You see, look well, Chief Dr. Ben have in Mamfe. That son have 25 points GCA level. Have more than 20 how many points in O level, but he was not. They couldn't take him in queues or anywhere in those in any of those schools because why? He does not speak French. The army even tried to kill Chief Dr. Ben himself. He have to flee. He went and hit himself, and then Tabetando and the rest they organized for him to come back. So as they are there, all of them in Mamfe, Chief Dr. Ben and all of them are there in Mamfe, they cannot talk because there's a gun on their neck. Yes, there's a gun on their neck. He cannot talk. That man is a normal, quiet person. He's a scientist. He's a professional. So he does not worry about politics. He just worry about to treat whoever is sick. So the army might go cause commotion like the last time they went to scatter his house and they ramshackle every place. They are doing it at their own risk. But I'm going to advise my people to wake up and fight. The Republic have poked us in the eye many times because we have sellouts. And many people, they downplay it. For example, if you look at it, former President Ayok Tabe Julius is a Manu person. He's in jail. But Tabetando will leave Yaoundé and come to Mamfe and people will go receive him. What a shame. Instead of them to hold him responsible that you are coming, what about the other one behind? They sing in Manu. We say, Mato Kenkem Kawaye, Kawaye, Manjango, Kawaye, Manjang, Kawaye, Manjang. It means they've come all. Where is mine? They should look for it. Tabetando, you've come to Mamfe. Ayota, you've come to Mamfe. Where is mine?
The pictures you're looking at, the pictures you're seeing on the screen right now. This is how beautiful the hospital was looking before the ace. Now, what is Cameroon trying to do? They are doing one of two things. Cameroon wants to, first of all, turn the population, the civilian population, I would say the ignorant civilian population, against the genuine restoration forces. Number two, Cameroon wants to create fatigue. They want to destroy everything. They are vexed that their slaves have suddenly risen up and they are resisting occupation. And so they want to destroy it. I said it and I want to say it again. Cameroon started destroying property, destroying villages, killing people in Ambazonia when the Ambazonian restoration forces did not even have knives. Nobody was fighting. Our people had peace plans. Our people picked up peace plans and they went out. And what Cameroon did is the same thing they are doing today. As an Ambazonian, you'll be foolish to even think that the Ambazonian restoration forces will raise down the hospital. There is no logic. No Ambazonian restoration force, even the one that you think is the evil one, can raise down the hospital for no gain. First of all, it doesn't help them to win the war. They do not inflict pain on the same people that feed them. So we already know the trick. And it is unfortunate. The reason why we even have to speak and speak so strong is the fact that the media is purportedly trying to turn it all around. When in a video that came few minutes when the building was still burning down, a video was there with French Cameroon armed forces speaking in French, provoking and laughing the situation. If actually they didn't do it and they wanted to stop it, that building was not made out of wood. It took hours for it to be raised down. There was no emergency. There was no backup. There was no attempt to stop the flame. So whatever story you get now is a cooked up story. We just watch Atanganji there. If you listen to him in quotes, if you listen in between the lines of what Atanganji was saying there, he was giving instructions on what to do. We know Atanganji, he's a criminal. He was a prisoner and he had to sign a contract with Cameroon for his freedom to come and fight against his own people. That is what he knows how to do and to do best. It's really unfortunate. Thank you, Onye.
Right, I can really understand the pains of Willie there. I mean, seeing where you cherish so much, burnt down, and brought down, and then you're supposed to take lies. I mean, it's really pathetic, and I sympathize with the Mamfe and Manu people. Really, Star, you have a question?
Yes, indeed. It's a personal one we can see for Comrade Willie and most people from the Manu. I'd like to ask, looking at this whole very messy situation, Comrade Willie, where do we go from here?
Yes, where do we go from here? I will first start by this. Let me answer Mr. Atanganji's question where he said, where does those weapons come from? Cameroon government is the #1 supplier of weapons to Ambazonia. We seized our weapons from La Republique. Yes, we seized our weapons from La Republique. Last time in Mamfe, when those 6 were killed, their weapons were retrieved. We seized their weapons. Contrary to before, when a coup plotter used to tell us that, oh, they have GPS in their weapons, I told our fighters to take those weapons and use them. There's no GPS. Cameroon don't have money to put GPS in their weapons. They should seize those weapons. And our weapons have been seized from La Republique. Our ammunitions are all taken from La Republique. We invade them at any time. Last time we carried attack in Mamfe, and we carried attack in Imojok. We carried attack in Upper Bayang. We carried attack in Akwaya the same day, the same time. and we put them all in disorder. The reason so they cannot get back up, we have units already in place and what to do. I would advise anybody who's going to Mamfe from now henceforth. Not that Mamfe is a war zone. I don't think people get people get it. And those who stay in Mamfe, those military people who stay in Mamfe, people will learn to see. I've cried. My tears does not fall down carelessly. I said my tears do not fall down carelessly. I've cried. You people will not cry. You people will bleed. You stay there, the SDO, all the military people, and those head of department or civil servants who think that they can just come to Mamfe and pass order that we should be killed, pass order that we should be doing this, and well, to talk too much is not good. If you stay in Mamfe, just know that either if you're military, you better pack or you're going to bleed. I'm not going to warn. I'm not going to. It's not a threat. But let's wait and see. I have one thing to give Mamfe people that my father gave me. This is a lamp. You might ask me, why? What do I do with the lamp? My father gave me this. I will give it to every Mamfe fighter to hold a lamp. Go and find those people killing us and kill them all. All Manu County Commando, this is your county coordinator, Willie. When I go, when I go find all the Republic Army for their house, when I go burn them inside the house alive, when I go for play the work, when I go burn them alive, when I go find all the Republic Army, when I go find all colonial administrators, when I go burn them, I'm responsible for this. Any man will stay for a house, when I go burn him, when I see them for church, when I go shoot them. When I see them for market, when I go shoot them. Now, lamb this, my papa give me that, come out back home. Now, the lamb this, I see use the lamb this today. Yes, for here, I sleep with lamb. And you get lamb for us. I no go fall foolish. Our culture, our tradition must be kept intact. And if you say, go, you can't burn your hospital, burn everything, me, I no go talk too much. I know the promise will not nothing. But anyone within inside Mamfe at this time, make it no say they for war zone. Last but not the least, don't forget, Amba La Republic. You burn our hospital, but you people going to pay fairly. And this is how you people going to pay. I'm a Manu County coordinator. I'm not just a Manu County coordinator in Manu. Under this interim government, I'm also the commissioner for Homefront for the 13th county. And I want to let you know, Cameroon government should know, that the effective July 1st, I will say on behalf of the interim government, no bus, any bus above 13, that's above 12 capacity load will be burned, will not be able to enter inside Ambazonia again. I say from the 1st of July, July 1st, 2022, May, a young Willie, Nangaram, I'm saying it. I say no bus. All those buses, for example, those that's the two Guarantee Express. If we catch you inside Ambazonia, we're going to burn you alive inside that car. Anybody who wants to enter that car, or those vans, or those buses, should ride the wheel. And I'll explain, why. Number one, those buses will leave Amumezam, or whatever they call them, those 70-seater seat. They will leave, they come to Mamfe Park. They have to load their car or the truck on Monday. Our parents will pay 10,000. They will take those 10,000 and the whole. They start to load our parents in those buses on Monday. And the bus will not get full. On Tuesday, our parents will not go. They will stay there. They cannot give their money back. Or Wednesday, you go to syndicate to get your money. They will talk to you in French. Our parents will not get their money back. Sometimes the bus will be full till Thursday or Wednesday. Then our parents will travel to Kumba or to where they want to go. Before they go, their mission and purpose is already disrupted. Number two, those 70-seater buses in Mamfe, it costs 10,000, for example, for Mamfe to Kumba. When they come, they carry 70 people. They have taken 700,000 CFA francs from Manu people, of which that bus does not belong to us. The driver of that bus and the agency belongs to La Republique people. They will carry our people and take it to their land. And as such, our bus drivers will remain dry. If they could have divided those 70 people alongside those 12-seater buses, that's about 5 or 6-seater buses, that could have put money in our people's pocket. Again, that's 12 times 10, that's 120,000 CFA francs. That will be able to feed our drivers. Those who have clandos can carry 6 people at a time. From Mamfe to Kumba, within 1 hour they are full, and that way, a fast service. So those buses that are coming to Ambazonia, we authorize all the restrictional forces to sharpen their teeth. We are going for economic sabotage. If the Republic do not go down this year, me will it means I'm not leaving. We're going to turn the economy upside down as the thing they can turn our hospital. That hospital will not be built again. That hospital will not be built. That's a mushroom hospital. It will not be built. The Republic they have already done their part. When we're going to build a hospital, we're going to build a modern hospital. We're going to build skyscrapers with research labs and everything. Yeah, I speak now as a scientist. I'm a scientist by profession. We're going to build something reasonable and decent. They are jealous when the devil come to you to steal and destroy. They are jealous because their own small local army hospital there by beside Lawyer Pame's house, opposite army hospital there in GRA. It's as small as this room that I am in. They don't have drugs. They come there, Dr. Ben will give them drugs. Many times they have come to the hospital, Dr. Ben have given them drugs. Yes. But when I was a child, Colonel Jonga Mustafa, the tall colonel that he will have a mark on his face. He will come, Dr. Ben will give him drugs. I've observed it. They have come there and carried things. Even Colonel, this captain, Folefak, when he was a captain, Captain Bong Sisi Teng Teng, they are all, when they come to Dr. Ben's area, I've seen them. They have come there and beg for food, beg for drugs, and they give them. Now they turn and burn our hospital. You guys keep on doing it. Now, let me come back to the bus. This bus thing that I'm saying is not a joke. If you have ear, you hear. All the private parks in Ambazonia will be closed from July 1st, 2022. The reason is this. All the general parks can operate. Mamfe Park will operate. Kumba Park will operate. We do not want no privately owned park. Those parks are owned by Francophones. I said those parks are owned by Francophone. Amumezam, Francophone. Amumba Express, Francophone. They are owned by them. Head of syndicates is them. What they do is this: they open those private parks. When passengers come, they first load their passenger first. They carry them, send them to wherever they're supposed to go. They're extorting money from us. If you load a bus or 70-seater, you carry it and go. You've taken 70 people away from Mamfe to Kumba. That's 700,000 CFA francs. If you do the same from Kumba to Boya to Douala, you see that they are sucking money from us. And our drivers that have 12-seater buses, they stay dry. So we're going to reverse the clock. We're going to restore this independence. When I was a child, we enter a car, they call Parmano Race. Parmano Race is on Mamfe to Kumba. His son is my classmate, Ako George. So we're going to reverse this clock so that those clandos, they'll be able to have their passenger again. Brother, money will come back to the hands of our brothers and sisters. Money will come back to the hands of our brothers and sisters. I will not forget to let you know, when they have 20 May, 11 February, La Republic will take three of those 70-seater buses, carry people from Douala or Bafoussam, bring them into Ambazonia, put them in the stadium, show the world, oh, these are Ambazonia people. When you take 70-seater buses, three of them, that's 200 mathematics, that's my subject. That's 210 people, 10 persons. You plus motor boy plus extra. You carry them and bring, that's 210 persons. They sit in the studio. They say, oh, they are all Amazonians are in the field, of which they are all Francophones. They came through the bus. And La Republic is using those buses to bring the military in. They use those buses in Douala. They load their people. They load the bees. They be in color clothes, but they're well armed to the teeth. They drive and pass on our freeways, and our people will think that, oh, these are just passenger buses. No. When they come, they go to GRA in Mamfe. For example, they go to GRA in Mamfe. Yes, I know, because why? When they're building that army camp Mamfe, I was there. I enter all those rooms. I was a cameraman, a photographer. Now they will pass now, they go to GRA in Mamfe, they stop in the army base, then they come out, they remove their military bags under that buses, of which you see how they are passing under our legs, and our people don't see. And our people don't see. So anybody who's going to enter a bus is going to do so at their own will. Some people say, why don't we tell our people to boycott those buses? We cannot tell them because the way they have set the system, before you go to the park, you choose which bus you want to enter. But now, it's not like that. When you go to the park, the syndicate will tell you which bus to enter. So our parents have money, but they don't have the willpower to choose. So they are not giving us no service. And as such, they have come and burned our places. As they are burning, we're going to burn the economy. Economic sabotage, number one, is transportation. You're going to flip their transportation system upside down. In the days ahead, you're going to see how, as this July 1st is coming, the money for war draft for the 13th county, we're not going to kill the army out of the menu, but we're going to wipe them out if we happen to see them. So we're going to focus on those buses. Anybody that have a bus that is 13-seater upward, please evacuate for now. If you have a private park if somebody have a whether Amu as Mizab is in your area, and back from now and leave. So that when those bosses leave Douala, they are coming to Ambazonia, they will stop in Douala, then our own Clando can pick them up by Bonaberry and come to our area. We live our area, we control the type of buses that pass in our area. Those buses are destroying our roads, and now they are bringing Caterpillar for reconstruction. Any Caterpillar that comes inside Ambazonia will be burned with the driver inside. We are not type for reconstruction. They never constructed anything for us. What we have managed within ourselves and by ourselves, they are bandits. They came to Manu, went to Acquire, killed a lot of people, and look at it, the whole world is just quiet. I'm not going to call the international community. My international community is the boys on the ground, they have the guns. We're going to talk with the gun. The international community is going to jump. They're going to shoot anything. We are not here for nobody who come to do fact-finding mission. We are war now. Farmers and fighters in Manu, you're going to shoot anything and ask questions later. They are killing us, nobody's coming. They are burning us, nobody's coming. You're going to take this lamp, go to everybody's, any Republic person's area, house, wipe them out. My father said, oh, I don't want to know. So, come on, more. We use this lamp to look for Nyamangoro. We use it to look for Bushmango. You know it, Mr. Paddy. You know what the lamp does. When I approach you with the lamp, you know that when a mother in Manu take a lamp and come to your house at night, you know what that means. I don't think it's a good news. If a mama come to your house in Manu with a lamp.
All right. Thank you
so much. That's what I can tell you people.
Comrade Willie. I'm sure that they've heard, and I'm sure that they'll be waiting for the lamp as well. Thank you so much. We hope to have you some other time to give us, probably when we've had some positive reports from Manu and Mamfe, you will definitely come back to give us some success stories. I mean, that's what we would want to report back to the people, success stories. And I'm sure that as county coordinator, you would definitely give the people the success that they desire and the success that they deserve. Thank you so much for coming on Undaunted News this evening to brief us on the happenings. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot go without talking to my parents and talking to my people. And imagine kum kesere when ntoko se wona kipu menge se wona kipu ano kwa ayime ya ngun ka ntongo ne akum ke tuwen aki yuwen aki leknju aki lek wo enjoy manga kwe na nkum ke advice when una form ejumje called local community centers. Una chambi una kaka local community centers. Animbare very nurses. Una jia for una jin animba akimanga una kala wonjan una jema won biaben njue manga kwe chanka Mamfe aneoku amanga sento ko se alek njue njana yere una kiro afo una ji ka jaru ekeji konjan ntoko se ore monche anake anaoku akinunga ya weche chichi una manga ke ntoko se onendum ka jia fo ka njue manga ka anoku ntoko se one akwi ofiroji ben toko se one enandum kaji akifi wase orimone Amba so una koebu ntoko se okimanga okijia fo ka pharmacy ka Mamfe o serabo o ya ekinokwa kisirabo se pharmacist o ya kinokam wa ke kalawanjan be are doctor ben pokowe. Goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye. Good night. And
thank you, Commissioner Willie.
Staged fraud. See the video for yourself.
The whole of semi-La Republic, go. They are under Adam bad. La Republic is finished. They are totally, completely finished in Amba. So they understand. They don't pack. Only small action. So they have everywhere where La Republic then they make all our youths them. Wanna look for any way to finish them. Wanna who go jam them one by one. Now in this, they run. They don't begin pack their back. All black legs. All enablers. They don't begin shake. See, they don't pack their clothes, they run, war them past them. We be then tell they say, you know if you can't win people inside their own country. After all, you come again, they can't use now terrorist action them. When for the past 60 years, with the shit no white blast them, they run, they harass our people them, they steal 500. Now baby killers, burning all people alive, target killing of innocent individuals them. Political persecution for land when we defeat them. Wanna hear?
So when I see about two people them and Bojongo, they deny make be no go. So B, no fit go, they don't block road. All the Boya Road and Bojongo Road has been blocked. So they are now here with us.
La Republic is finished. War done pass and then they run. When I see how they done begin pack their things, they go black legs them. When I follow them enter that motor, they go no terrorism. When I don't want support terrorism. When I don't want collaborate with terrorist shit, no why blast them. When better country they come out, they go colonize. La Republic dirty shit, no why blast. Poto country where light no even they not even pay salary for their own people them. They come out the one can colonize Ambazonia. Idiot them. I say Ambazonia, but any place you wanna see them, even you they can't chop na for your restaurant. If you poison them, you put something for them, then finish. Now, eminent threat for our life. If you do something, you do them. Any kind of thing where if you do them, you do them for this shit no white blast terrorism. Now, baby killers, when I be here had their own spokesperson, it become confirmed that they kill 9 people for inside Mencho. If you get woman for they get picking for 8 months. So my country people, La Republic is finished. They are finished. They are finished. Now just a matter of time. Make all man be inspired for the action for this past week. Make all man begin to find way. I mean, if you begin to do one eye granite, find way go knock them for day. Me go finish them. Me go jam them for all kind inside them. Me they no go get sleep for inside Ambazonia. Now the time for we for drive. When I see they run packed in way. Game nobody even start. They run packed in. They run around. Fight down, finish. They go do it. Inside man the country dirty shit. Nobody blast them. They no first get training. First look at them day. Drunker people them. They no first get road for their village. Idiot them. So we go finish them. We go finish them. Make all my do begin do his own part. We go finish them all. Now terrorists, Cameroon terrorist forces of disorder and lawlessness, country of no law. Their president are terrorists, terrorist Pobia, terrorists Okala Bilai, terrorists Lele Afrique. All of them are terrorists. Terrorists. They are finished. And any black leg too, when I follow them go.
The video you just watched as some Wututu locals purportedly staging a protest against military departure in their locality. Very shocking.
Indeed, shocking. According to reports from the proxy media again, a number of persons today, Sunday, June 12, 2022, thronged the streets of Wututu, Victoria in the Atlantic Zone to prevent the departure of the Rapid Intervention Battalion BIR from their locality. The report also insinuates the military had terminated their mission in the area and were set to leave for Man-O-War Bay. In a video, the locals were spotted lying in front of military vehicles, some hanging on the tires, while others could be spotted mounting blocks by the roadside.
According to these locals, the departure of the military will likely increase their vulnerability to Ambazonians' attack. This is, according to them, because there has been some degree of calmness since the arrival of the military in the locality. This is very paradoxical. We have a record of several occasions where the military has ill-treated residents of the same locality, blow out the brains of babies, raise houses within the same communities.
It should be recalled that in many instances, the forces of occupation have been masterminded acts of violence against residents of Ambazonia. They account for multiple rights violations, including the notorious Ngabo massacre, Baby Karo Tata, the torture of a young man in Undu just before last year's May 20th National Day celebration. You can name them. The question is, why is the media fraud, distortion of facts, misinformation and disinformation? Our news director Tapadi King is here to comment on that.
All right, well, before he comes on, we have a report here by Kemi Ashu, and it says, in a heated debate on the popular Sunday debate of Equinox TV on 12th June 2022, one of the panelists said something that may get him arrested. In an unprecedented move, Aristide Mono said it was high time to let Ambazonians go if that is what they want.
On that, activist Kemi reported that, he says, the country was out of control and there was nothing the frogs could do. He says all those who say there is no war in Ambazonia, such as Atanga Njipo, Elongpo, or Ngole Elvis, should go to their respective villages and come back safely to prove that all is well. He also says the fact that Ambazonians continue to respect ghost town others coming from Dr. Sacco for years now is proof that the land is ungovernable. All measures taken by his government have failed.
He accuses the Ambazonian elite for being in denial of the fact that there is no war at all in Ambazonia. He blames his government for making junior officers do the dirty job for the senior military officers.
He says the problem in Ambazonia is a political one and needs a political solution. He says they managed to solve the problem with Boko Haram because the population was in support of the military, which is not the case in Ambazonia, where the restoration movement has full support of the population. So I'd like Sapadi, first of all, I believe he's still here with us, to react in regards to the fraud, the media fraud. Why the media fraud? Mr. Ta, over to you.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. The video coming in from Watutu, you heard a commentator. If I actually was the one making that commentary, I will not comment in that direction. But the individual, I think I know who was doing that commentary, is somebody that might also be short-sighted in the way he looks at things, and sometimes can be described as an opportunist, because there is no gain in that video for Amazonia. If you look at it, it's staged. We just watched another. We've seen images of certain community or denizens of the community in Mamfe trying to protest. That is staged. We know the gimmick of the CPDM officials that are in Mamfe, and we know the kind of things that they do. That is all staged. We've also seen a situation in Watutu. It's a stage. Now, this is what I want to say. Why is Cameroon doing it? Why? What do they intend to gain from it? This is just to tell us Ambazonians the importance of the media. Cameroon is playing this for eye service, those their onlookers. They are doing it for two gains. Number one is to gain a media presence, to change the narrative, to make to give a fraudulent information, and definitely to implicate Ambazonia in the international community. Number two is to manipulate the people and to turn them against the genuine Ambazonian restoration forces. So whatever happened in Watutu, we all know it is staged and it is a fraud. And what's the evidence? Just before the end of last year, the same community, Watutu is just a few kilometers away from Boya town, where the people protested because a gendarme blew off the head of a 7-year-old baby. I think she was just 4 years old, Caro Tato. Her head was blown off by a gendarme. We have seen the colonial talks actually kill in broad daylight, shoot our people. From the time I was growing up until today, the sight of a gendarme or a Cameroon military stirs fear. It must only be hypocrisy. It must only be a few. And look at the Watutu community. That's a huge community. And you look at the crowd that was standing there, was not up to 30 persons. These are guys that have been staged. The truth is, Cameroon is done with the war. They cannot fund the war. It's getting more expensive. They want to go. But they are shameless and they're hypocritical. Do they just want to go? Why Atanganji is trying to bring up propaganda, they are trying to stage up a movie. They did that with Mundi. It didn't work. The media didn't buy it. The media rubbished the Mundi idea. Now they have done it in Mamfe. It still doesn't fit logic, because the boys in Mamfe, the genuine Amazonian restoration forces, will not raise down their own hospital. Now they are trying to stage a movie in Watutu. Let them go do that in Bamenda. Let's see how many denizens of Bamenda will even take the bribe to risk themselves. And I'm just talking to our dear comrades at the home front. Do not become a victim of circumstance. Once you allow yourself, because of greed or whatsoever, to stage such a movie, you have made yourself a military target. You're telling the boys that are in the bushes that you do not value their sacrifice. And they could react. Their reaction could not be a good one for you. Avoid allowing Cameroon to manipulate you. Look at what Bo Hebert said on Twitter. Imagine the people of the communities in Donbass will rise up against the military that is fighting for them. How can you, if at all is true, which I know is fraud, rise up against your own people to support the same person who raised Mami Api alive? The same person, when our people in 2017 took up peace plan to advocate for their basic human rights. This is the same man who sprayed in one day, killed 400 Amazonians. It was not recorded. This is the same man for less than 5 years has killed more than 40,000 of our citizens. In 1961, this same military invaded our territory, intimidated our parents, shut their mouths, killed some. In 1972, the same thing was done. In 1984, Biya escalated it in 1992 when Frundi won the presidential election. Our people were killed, and there was no media for anyone to report. In 2008, I'll never forget, I came back from South Africa into Cameroon in 2008. Amazonians were killed in huge numbers, even the ones that were in Yaoundé. After the strike of the fuel prices, they were taken to Kondengi. Some died. Amazonians have disappeared. You have a lot of Amazonian families. They cannot locate their people. How can you even dare to take such a bribe, to do such a thing, when you know very well that you're betraying your own people? It's quite unfortunate. Now, let me fast forward to the Mimi Mefo, fake media, and all of this. Listen, we're done with Mimi Mefo. Like Comrade Abdul Karim said, Mimi Mefo should understand that she's abroad today. She has an international job because of the blood of our people. She has to be very careful with her report. We look at for Hanson was liberal with his report. At least that is the least he could do. Now, Mimi Mefo is aggressive, always looking for a reason to portray black, the Amazonian struggle. On several occasions, it has been discovered that her report was just a cooked up. Now she is outrightly working for the oppressor. I don't want to question her tribe as a reason for her action. I think it's out of egoism. Whatever tribe she belongs in. Look at Michel Biemton. Michel Biemton is not an Amazonian, but he is from Bulu, the very tribe of Bia, and related to the Basars. But he reports accurate news because that is truthful news. He talks to his own people in their own language what is happening. It's unfortunate. A girl who has gained all his fame because of the Amazonian struggle, all of a sudden thinks that she can stand against that. It's so unfortunate. And this is what we have to do as Amazonians. We have to take the media outreach aggressively. It's not a time for us to cry or wither or complain. It is the time for us to fund ABC. Fund it with every little bit. If you have not subscribed on our page, go right now on our Facebook page and subscribe. You can watch us 24/7. Make sure you become a club member. Because if we lose the media war, there are very high chances that we may lose the war. Media war is very imperative. Putin knew that. And that's why Putin was hacking into the systems of the Ukrainian media to chart his cause, to make sure that he can influence the narrative. Putin knows that the West is using the media to fight the war against him. The media is very important. The reason why some of us know today that America is world power is because of their movies, because of the power of the American media. We cannot make mistake in the media. The reason why every Amazonian must lavishly, unwaveringly fund this platform, because this is the only platform that is owned by Amazonians 100%. It's not a private business. It is not owned by Dr. Saku. It's not owned by me. A few days ago, you heard that Arnos was the owner, and today is your answer. It is owned by you. The moment you become a club member, you become an owner of this platform. You do not want to make the error not to be a part of this history making. Go to our website now, subscribe, and be a part of winning this war in the media. Thank you very much.
The media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Ambazonia were deprived of such privileges. The privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion. They have suffered cultural genocide for 6 long decades, but not in this age and not with Undaunted ABC Amba News on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution on Ambazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Franco-Cameroon colonizers, among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Ambazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Ambazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Ambazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, and 1992, Ambazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the piper in the media.
The good news is, we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
Right now, ABC Amba TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively
to inform the misinformed and disinformed with Undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amba TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Ambazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way round.
And like we say it always, Ambazonia must narrate her story accurately. We can do this together, you know, right? You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambatv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team. In our editorial of today, it is superlatively imperative for us to get right back into our historical timeline. Very important. We will make progress as we recount the historicity of today's Ambazonia. Before this day, we had a walk through pre-1858, Amba's Bay before the arrival of the Europeans, 1858, the city of Victoria established by Alfred Seca, 1884, establishment of the Amba's Bay Protectorate, 1887, the Amba's Bay Protectorate ceded to Germany, 1916, Britain and France occupied German Cameroon, and 1919, German Cameroon divided at the Versailles Treaty. We moved into 1922, the Cameroons became a League of Nations mandate. Fast forwarded in 1946, we examined how the Southern Cameroons became a UN Trust territory. And in 1954, when the Southern Cameroons attained self-rule in Boia. We have discussed the 1959 free and fair elections held in the Southern Cameroons. We got into 1960, Southern Cameroon's leaders visited the UK and the UN. We also went into 1961 UN plebiscite votes held in the Southern Cameroons. We talked about 1961 independence to the Southern Cameroons. We examined 1961 independence to the Southern Cameroons. We went further into 1965. His Excellency Bobe Augustin Ngomjua becomes Prime Minister. Came through into 1968. Honorable Solomon Tandeng Muna becomes Prime Minister. And finally, into 1972, the state of the Southern Cameroons abolished. We entered 1973. Honorable Solomon Tandeng Muna made Speaker of Parliament. We also examined 1984 Biya unilaterally changed the name of the country. And finally, into 1984 again, Ambazonia Restoration Council demands end to union. We discussed the All Anglophone Conference AAC1, which was held in Buea. We entered in 1994 the All Anglophone Conference 2 holds a Bamenda. Also in 1994, the Southern Cameroons National Council created. Into 1999, Justice Frederick Alobwede and Co. seized Buea radio station, and 2000 Southern Cameroons Nationalist Movement formed alliance. 2003, Chief Etunayamba elected as SCNC chairman. Okay, now let's make some more progress. Today, we will look into 2003 Cameroon suit at the ACPHR in Banjul. This is a case that was filed before the Africa Court on Human and People's Rights on January 9, 2003 by representatives of the Southern Cameroons National Council, SCNC, and Southern Cameroons People's Organization, SCAPO. Acting on their personal behalf and on the behalf of the Southern Cameroons, the plaintiff who filed the case were the following: Dr. Kevin Ngwangume, Mr. Augustine Faye Ndangam, Dr. Martin Ngeka Luma, deceased; Chief Ayamba Ete Otu, deceased; Mr. Umfo Ngala Umfo, Mr. Humphrey Mbinglo, Mr. Albert Woma Munkong, deceased; Isaac M. Sona, Dr. Emile Mondoa, Dr. Tayoba Ngenge, Dr. Stephen Shemlon, Dr. Martin Ayim, Dr. J. Asongo, Mrs. Regina Mankefor, deceased; Miss Melissa Nambangi, Mr. Andrew Edimo, Mr. Tum Tafun, Mr. Dennis Atemking. The complainants were represented by Professor Carson Ayangwe as lead counsel and the law firm of Akinlawan and Ajomo of Lagos, Nigeria. The complaint recites that La République du Cameroon is guilty of violating the rights of hundreds of citizens of the Southern Cameroons and the collective rights of the people of the Southern Cameroons. 2009, the ACPHR rules on the case against Cameroon. In May 2009, the African Court of Peoples and Human Rights, ACPHR, ruled on the case against the Republic of Cameroon brought by SCAPO, the SCNC, and 14 Southern Cameroon's nationalists based on the subjugation, domination, and exploitation of our people by the Republic of Cameroon. After reviewing the case, the African Commission concluded that the people of Southern Cameroon qualify to be referred to as a people because they manifest numerous characteristics and affinities which include a common history, linguistic tradition, territorial connection, and political outlook. More importantly, they identify themselves as a people with a separate and distinct identity. Identity is an innate characteristic within a people. It is up to other external people to recognize such existence, but not to deny it. This is where we end the historical timeline recount for today. We wish to say thanks to all Ambazonians for being a support system to this platform, the club and board members for their selflessness, and our editor-in-chief and news director, Tarapati King, for putting together these historical details for your enjoyment. If you want more of this, visit our website at www.abcambertv.com for more. I am Star Smart and I'm reporting for Undaunted ABC Amber News.
And And now sports. The rape lawsuit filed by Catherine Mayorga in Las Vegas against Cristiano Ronaldo has been dismissed by a U.S. District Court. The court cited bad faith conduct by her attorney, Leslie Mark Stovall, as per the Association Press, and sanctioned them. Navida Bays Mayorga took the Manchester United star to court to pay millions of dollars, more than the $375,000 she received after alleging he raped her in Las Vegas in 2009. U.S. District Judge Jennifer Dorsey of Las Vegas released a 42-page order at the end of her ruling. She said that the use of leaked and stolen documents detailing attorney-client discussions between Ronaldo and his players tainted the case beyond redemption.
She said that the use of documents detailing attorney-client discussions between Ronaldo and his lawyers tainted the case beyond redemption. Dorsey has dismissed the case and has also ruled out the possibility of the case being filed again in the same court. The AP reported that Stovall can appeal the decision to the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeal in San Francisco. Here are some of the excerpts from the official ruling from Dorsey, courtesy of ESPN. Quote, "I find that the procurement and continued use of these documents was bad faith, and simply disqualifying Stovall will not cure the prejudice to Ronaldo because the misappropriated documents and their confidential contents have been woven into the very fabrics of Mayorga's claims." She added that Stovall's bad conduct and the damage done to Cristiano Ronaldo's reputation from the same forced her hand to give harsh sanctions, she added.
Gab Ellison has more on this sports story.
Latest world sports. U.S. judge dismisses Cristiano Ronaldo rape lawsuit in Las Vegas and punishes woman's attorney with sanction for bad faith conduct. The rape lawsuit filed by Catherine Mayorga in Las Vegas against Cristiano Ronaldo has been dismissed by a U.S. District Court. The court cited bad faith conduct by her attorney, Leslie Mark Stovall, as per the Association Press, and sanctioned them. Nevada-based Mayorga took the Manchester United star to court to pay millions of dollars, more than the $375,000 she received after alleging he raped her in Las Vegas in 2009. U.S. District Judge Jennifer Dorsey of Las Vegas released a 42-page order at the end of her ruling. She said that the use of leaked and stolen documents detailing attorney-client discussions between Ronaldo and his lawyers tainted the case beyond redemption. Dorsey has dismissed the case and has also ruled out the possibility of the case being filed again in the same court. The AP reported that Stovall can appeal the decision to the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeal in San Francisco. Here are some of the excerpts from the official ruling from Dorsey, courtesy of ESPN. "I find that the procurement and continued use of these documents was bad faith, and simply disqualifying Stovall will not cure the prejudice to Ronaldo because the misappropriated documents and their confidential contents have been woven into the very fabric of Mayorga's claims." She added that Stovall's bad conduct and the damage done to Cristiano Ronaldo's reputation from the same forced her hand to give harsh sanctions, she added. Tennis. Iga Swiatek pulls out of German Open due to a shoulder injury but set sights on the return for Wimbledon. Iga Swiatek has pulled out of the German Open due to an issue with her shoulder. On her personal Twitter account, Swiatek announced that she would not be able to compete in Berlin. "Due to a recurrent discomfort I am feeling in my shoulder, unfortunately, I need to withdraw from the Bet1 Open in Berlin," she said. "I'm sorry, I will not be able to play there. I will focus on recovery and rest in order to be ready for Wimbledon." The German Open was one of the oldest WTA tournaments until it stopped in 2008. It was set to return in 2020, but due to the pandemic, its return to the WTA calendar was pushed back in 2021, with Lyudmila Samsonova winning the singles event. The competition in Berlin is often used as a warm-up for Wimbledon, with both events being played on grass. The Polish star is just off the back of winning the 2022 French Open title. She finished the tournament with a 35-match winning streak, which matches the longest unbeaten streak since Venus Williams in 2005. The victory also saw her become only the 10th woman to win more than one Roland Garros singles title in the Open era, following her shock victory in 2020 as an unseeded teenager. After her victory against Coco Gauff in the final, Eurosport's experts Tim Henman and Chris Evert were full of praise for the Polish player. You look at what she's doing for the women's game right now and she's dominating. She's played absolutely brilliantly for the whole fortnight and she's a really worthy champion, said Henman. Evert added, at the end of the day, Iga was the one who opened up the court better. She was the one that had less unforced errors. She was all business, very focused, and she was the one that dominated every single point from the first shot on. I just think that's experience. She had a game plan going out there. She talked to her coach, I'm sure, talking about being proactive, being aggressive from the first shot. Do not let Coco Belletting run you around the court because that's where she is at her best. Gab Ellison reporting for Undaunted, ABC Amba News.
And with that sports recap, we have come to the end of Undaunted tonight. But before we go, here is a recap of our major stories.
The West has hijacked the Ukraine war. Meanwhile, the US liaises with its European allies to fix Russian oil prices. The United States-backed Syrian Democratic Forces have said that they will turn to the Syrian government for support if Turkey decides to launch a new military operation against them in northern Syria. Heavily armed Bororo bandits terrorized the population of B village in Nkambe local government area, wounding many. Colonial Republic of Cameroon government claims there is improved security in the Atlantic and part of the Midland zones. Mamfe Hospital and arson. La Republic of Cameroon's blood money has bought over what we should have been referring to here as the indigenous media of Ambazonia.
Tonight, we also told you that Remy Nganou's utterances has stirred dangerous waters within the Ambazonian diasporic community and social media space. And in sports, we told you that US judge dismisses Cristiano Ronaldo's rape lawsuit in Las Vegas and punishes women's attorney with sanction for bad faith conduct. And that was it for tonight's Undaunted, bringing it to the news on 12 Stories. On behalf of my co-anchor Stir Smart and the entire Undaunted crew, I wish to say thank you for tuning in. I am Onyi Okbala.
We'll leave you with ABC Amba TV images. Stay tuned and have a good night.